Stoichiometry is a nice, neat place for us to wrap up our chemistry journey together. It involves a lot of the different skills that you and I have talked about throughout this course. We've talked about all the different kinds of matter around us and that it's made up of atoms, the building blocks of everything you can see and interact with. We talked about how these atoms join together, how they bond and what the incentive is for them to bond in order to make new and exciting materials that we make use of all the time in our lives. We then looked at the way that these different atoms and molecules interact with one another, how they react to make useful things, in some cases just exciting and fun things, but a variety of different chemical reactions. And then finally, we really put on a different set of glasses and looked at the world in a whole new way and how we quantify and measure things. We looked at our mole concept, some of the calculations involved, and that allowed us to get to where we are now with our stoichiometry, being able to make really powerful predictions about chemical reactions, even though we may know very little about it going into them. We may only know about one small part of the reaction, and from that we can find out so much more. But we've had 4 hours together. This is just the beginning. Chemistry is a huge discipline. There are so many other things that would have been great to talk about. We could have discussed spectroscopy, one of my favourite areas of chemistry, which is all about the interactions between light and matter. It talks about how we get light from atoms and from molecules, and what happens when light hits an atom or a molecule. It talks about why most of my shirts are purple, and what kind of interesting quantification we can do with this spectroscopy. So much of what we know about chemistry and atoms and molecules has been determined through this area of science. We could have talked about organic chemistry, which is essentially the chemistry of carbon atoms and the way that they bond and unite with one another, and then with other select atoms as well. Carbon chemistry makes up the backbone of many different facets of life, or most known facets of life, as well as many other interesting organic compounds that we use in the labs and in our day-to-day. Things like plastics, also based very heavily on organic chemistry and carbon. We could have talked about another personal favourite, colloidal surface science. Surface science, surface chemistry. It doesn't take too much of an extension of thought to realise that every time we interact with something, it's the surfaces that meet first. So understanding them plays a big role in understanding how we interact with the world around us. We could have talked thermodynamics, kinetics, chromatography. So I really hope you have enjoyed this journey we've taken. I hope above all that it's inspired you to do a bit more chemistry. You might find that you enjoyed this and are thinking, what other sciences could I do? Dr. Wayne Rowlands has given another short course, a few modules on introductory physics. You might like to head over and check that one out as well. But otherwise, I'll leave you to it from there, hoping I see you one day in the future in a chemistry lab. In the meantime, just remember, never trust atoms, they make up everything.